Could Ben Simmons be one of the last pieces of the puzzle to get the San Antonio Spurs back to the NBA Finals?
I don't ever slow up, no I don't take I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement.
What's up, San Antonio Spurs fans? Welcome to TSR Sports. Hope you're still pumped up about those lottery results from the other night. I know I am. My voice is still shot. But some of you in the comments, since Victor's been not drafted, since we got the first overall pick, and I'm talking about you'd rather have the Spurs have a traditional point guard for the future with him on the team, and having Sowing at point forward to some doesn't seem appeasing. You guys have mentioned Ben Simmons as a possibility, and I've seen a lot of reports on websites saying maybe this could be a good place for him to go to. I thought I'd address it here in today's video. Drop a comment down below if we could get him on the cheap. Would you be willing to roll the dice and see if we can resurrect Ben Simmons' career, or are you just, nope, don't want him, let's work on what we have? Hit that thumbs up, like, support the channel, and subscribe for more Spurs content. Anyway, Spurs salvaging Ben Simmons from the Brooklyn Nets. The San Antonio Spurs have a lot of cap space, which they do, to work with this summer, even if their title window may not even be open for the foreseeable future. True, with that number one overall lottery pick, going to be Victor Wembanyama, that window is looking a little brighter these days, a little clearer. Anyway, Ben Simmons, who might be on the final legs of his career and looking for a fresh start, dude's like only 27, San Antonio could possibly provide that. Let's get into the article a little deeper. Quote, it seems clear Ben Simmons would benefit from a fresh start in a low-stakes environment, which makes the stable, rebuilding Spurs the ideal destination for his hypothetical career resuscitation. That's really, I can't talk. Bleacher Report writes that. True. Not only do we have a stable environment, one of the greatest, if not the greatest NBA coach of all time in Greg Popovich. There's a lot of young players, young team, a possible future superstar, so this could be an ideal spot for Ben Simmons. I do agree with that. As far as getting him, and maybe you can help me out here, Spurs fans. It says the Spurs could acquire Simmons for Doug McDermott and a 2023 first-round pick from the Phoenix Suns. I'm not sure how the Suns fit into this, because when I look at our projected picks, and we have a whole lot of them, by the way, I mean, let me ask you, would you be willing to give up one of those 2024 picks for Ben Simmons and Doug McDermott? I'm assuming this is a three-team trade. I don't know all the ins and outs. They don't really go into it deep here. But is that yes, no? We'll move a little further. Quote, if the Spurs demanded a first round in exchange for all the cap relief they'd be giving the Nets, it wouldn't be out of bounds, Bleacher Report writes. If Brooklyn determined Simmons' worth was too low to trade him at all, then it might be better to wait and see if improved health opens up the market at the 2024 deadline. That might also be sensible. I think that's all we got. Short article there. I don't understand how the trade would work, but if the trade could get worked, would I be for this? Would you be for this? I'm kind of against this. He was not very good at all this past season. If you pull up his statistics, yes, he's a three-time All-Star. There's the injuries. He missed his first year due to a foot injury. There's the holdout and the injury he had the prior season. And then just last year, he was not good. He's a terrible free throw shooter, an abysmal three-point shooter. This is an upgrade to Trey Jones if he's healthy. He's certainly in size. He's 6'10", and his ability to guard the one. I assume he guarded the 5 in Philly at times, but he certainly, I'm sure, can guard the 1 through 4. But we're replacing a point guard with another guy that can't shoot the 3 and can't shoot free throws, has an attitude from what it seemed like from his holdout with Philly, and has got injuries. So I'm not a big fan of that. Not to mention the fact, Spurs fans, his contract is huge. 2 years left, set to make $38 million this year. And I believe our cap space is around 30, but if Doug McDermott was traded, that would open up about 13. So we would have over 40 million in cap. And speaking of 40, he's set to make 40 million next year. That's a lot of money to put into a player who could be cooked already at this point in his career. If it happens, as always, I'll root for anybody wearing our uniform. It's extremely high risk, sure, high reward. I'm gonna say pass. I'd rather use our money to extend players like Devin Vassell. His rookie contract is coming up, so I gotta think the Spurs would like to extend him. And also, if you look to maybe sign a vet, I know you guys are saying Chris Paul off the bench. Somebody even said that, sign Chris Paul to start, sign Chris Paul off the bench. I can't see any scenario where Chris Paul, who still wants to get a championship, is going to go, let me go into the rebuilding Spurs as I get closer to age 40. He wants a ring. He's going to go where he can win now or stay in Phoenix, though I guess maybe that's not going to work out. I really haven't been following the Suns at all with that situation. I'm going to pass. if there's a miracle scenario, because some of you brought this up too, with Portland looking like they're not totally crazy about their draft pick, could the Spurs somehow pull off a miracle and draft Victor Wembanyama and get Scoot Henderson in the draft? I can't see that happening whatsoever. No, I no. We're gonna get Victor, and moving forward, I guess you look at the starting lineup we've talked about. Victor's clearly going to start at the 4 or 5. 4 to start his career. Maybe if he bulks up, he gets to the 5 spot. I'm talking about power forward and center for those that know the numbers. For the time being, Kelvin and Devin seem to be locked in at the 3 and the 2, shooting guard and small forward. So I think our question mark really is point guard and center. Yes, I'm not forgetting about Jeremy Sohan, but I suppose if he runs the point forward thing as an experiment at times this year, and it works great, then we'll just roll with that. When they draft Victor Wembanyama, they'll certainly be closer. I don't want Spurs fans, and myself included, we should temper our expectations. When they drafted David Robinson, he went from, a 20-something win team to a 54, 55, 56 win team. Same thing when they drafted Tim Duncan. There was an immediate turnaround. Granted, that was David Robinson coming back from an injury. So I don't think we should look at our Spurs when they draft Victor. Well, we're going to get 50-plus wins this year. Still need the right pieces around him. Is this a piece? But if it happens and he can be the player he was in Philly, and I'll bring his stats up again to close the video. If he can guy that can shoot a high percentage, granted it's all going to be close to the rim, at least be a capable free throw shooter and stay over 60% and be an 8-rebound, 8-assist guy and still, he led the league in steals a few years ago. So if he can still be that type of defensive player, that would be a huge defensive upgrade. Just the question is, if the Spurs were to get him, who's going to the bench? Because from 5 to 1, I got to expect the starters are going to be locked in. Zach Collins, Victor, and then it gets a little messy there with Devin and Kelvin. Who goes to the bench there? And I got to think Jeremy's going to start at the point guard, point forward spot. There are a lot of questions on what's going to happen with our lineup, because with Victor being wanting to be and probably will be a power forward, well, we just drafted a power forward last year. Now it's be 2 years in a row. So go figure. We spend years drafting guards. Now we're just drafting power forwards. Then again, in today's NBA, as you guys have mentioned, with so many switches, with players switching on defense, those locked-in positions that we saw, if a Spurs fan of 30 years, David Robinson was definitely playing, center. Not a lot of switching. Sean was a small forward, so forth and so on. Now players that the position's more fluid, like martial arts. You gotta be like Bruce Lee said, be like water. Yeah, maybe my position is labeled me as a small forward, but I can guard the 4. I can guard the 2. I can guard the 1. And since I'm big enough, if you need, I can put me on a center. So we'll see what happens. It's a very exciting time to be a Spurs fan, and I can't wait to the draft this season, all the offseason moves that I'm sure are going to happen, and good things are coming for our team. Thank you all for tuning in, and as always, go Spurs, go!